Welcome, welcome everybody. Hi. Welcome to the newly reimagined and refurbished Freer and Sackler galleries. Today, I am very proud to introduce Carol He, who is the first curator to hold the position of Contemporary Asian Art Curator at our museums. And Carol will be leading a conversation with the artist Subodh Gupta, whose sculptural installation currently features in the Sackler Pavilion. Since Carol started here as curator in 2007, she's done a number of things, including exhibitions of monumental works, as well as photography installations. And artists that have been exhibited here by Carol include Waisi Kami, Anish Kapoor, Haibo, Holly Tengar, Reena Banerjee, Ai Weiwei, Chiharu Shiota, Michael Ju, among others. She's also started a very vigorous program of collecting contemporary photography, mostly from India, Iran, and Japan. And with that, I'd like to call Carol up. Before I call Carol up here, I'd like to say that this would be a great time to turn off your cell phones. And also, should you want to leave during the conversation, can you go out that door back there? If you go out that door, you'll set off an awful fire alarm. So that's the one you would like to do. So with that, please welcome Carol He.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. Briefly, the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery is unique in the United States, in fact, for presenting on a consistent basis for nearly 2 decades works by contemporary Asian artists. Through exhibitions, public programs, and research fellowships, contemporary artists have engaged us in many thought-provoking commentaries on today's society, delved into our collections, and really supported the Sackler's mission to share the rich diversity of Asian art across time and space. Especially this year, we're honored to have Subodh Gupta's installation of his monumental work, rather luminous work, Terminal, to help us celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery. Subodh Gupta, very sort of brief introduction, but he was born in the eastern state of Bihar in India. He studied at the College of Art and Design in Patna and relocated to Delhi in 1988-89. Since then, he has become a world-renowned artist. He has exhibited extensively throughout Europe and Asia, in Frankfurt, in the National Gallery, the Victoria and Albert, many biennials throughout the world, major exhibitions, and so we're really pleased to have his installation on view in the Sackler, opening just this weekend. Briefly, I'd like to thank Altria Group for their support of this exhibition and the Endowment for Contemporary Asian Art. Without too much further ado, I'd like to introduce Subodh Gupta to the stage. We'll have a brief conversation, delving more into his practice, his work, and some of the background and context around the creation of Terminal, and then we will ask a few questions about Terminal itself. Thank you. Subodh? To work. Subodh, again, welcome, and thank you so much for coming. I know that Subodh is known to have a notoriously busy schedule. He's prolific and exhibits just about everywhere, I think. But what I'd like to start with are some images. You'll see them on the screens above us. I chose to start with this as it's titled My Family's Portrait. There is an aspect of your work that is very autobiographical. Nearly every work has some reference to something personal. So I'd like you to sort of explain that a bit more, how your background, how your history really infuses your entire practice.
First of all, thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Coral, to inviting me. I'm in first time DC, I've never been here before, and I'm so excited with you today, right now. And when I came very early this afternoon to see the museum, I haven't seen all the museum, but so much to see and so much to learn. And everything was so much good energy. So I'm really proud to be here today. And I'm going to come to you,
Of course.
what you asked the question. Yes, I grew up in eastern part of India and came from the very middle class family. I lived the place called Khagol, very close to it was railway colony, so 99% population live and work in the railway. So my father was in railway, my two brothers is still in the railway, my brother-in-law in the railway. So basically I'm the railway boy. And juggling with the family and just growing as any kids, and somehow landed up in the art world without knowing even there is a art college exists. So my journey is very long. I'm not going to tell you and explain you because it will take a whole day. So I come, yes, this is the work called My Family Portrait. And in my home, in my Patna, there's a 2 kitchen cabinet of my brother, and one is my sister. So I collected from them and put it, exhibited it, and I do call it, it's my family portrait.
Now, you are very well known, especially for installations that incorporate food, the concept of food, the performance of food, and in fact, wonderful video work, The Spirit Eaters from 2013, where food and the implements of the kitchen feature very prominently in your work. Why is that?
First of all, I choose the material to work with utensils. And I trained as a painter. 10 years I did painting, nothing else. But one afternoon, I was in my kitchen. I love cooking, by the way, and it's one of my biggest hobby. And I love eating, love cooking, invite friends, like we go friends, like all of you, same, we all do same thing. And something about food is important in my country in many ways. And how I grew up in the Hindu culture and ceremony. So very particular things. This particular video is called Spirit Eater. And not everywhere in India happen, but I do happen in my hometown. There is a small village who they live by the profession. They only eat food when the people die. So in Hindu religion, there is after 10 days, is one ceremony called Dasmi, and after 13 days of death is called Termi. Due to my father died very young, and my mom, I seen so many, my own family death in my family, and also see that this ceremony taking place. So when I observed those, 13 days, these people come, they are kind of priest, and they demand you food to eat. And you give them food because you find them suspicious, it's like lucky. They eat food for the person who already dead. So they eat food for the soul. So that's why I call this work, these people Spirit Eater. And they will demand the money before they eat the food. So they will ask you, they will start from your house, I want your home, and then come settle with a few $100 or $50, something like that. And you have to give them, and you make them they eat. but when they eat, I tell you, they can eat food you never seen before. And yes, and I was so inspired, so I did this performance.
There is, I should, excuse me, I should explain that that's a three-channel, or sorry, six-channel video
Yeah, six.
installation. And it's quite humorous because you hear the process, but you hear the very practical, pragmatic details of negotiating the fee, etc. But aside from the very culturally specific context and content, I'm also interested in the fact that you had a foray into performance. There's a performative quality to many of your works, this very clearly so, but could you speak about how your experience with theater and how perhaps that influences the creation of your installations or other works?
So again, back to my story. Uh, when I pass out from the school and understanding what to do, in my small town there was a few theater groups. They was working, and that theater group, it was inspired me to be part of it because I don't wanted to go in the railway. That was the only reason I went to the theater. While doing theater for 5 years, I taken that profession very seriously. And I was making the theater posters as well. So while I was making posters, some friends asked me, hey, you make good poster, why not go art school? And that was it. So theater and pragmatic, due to is in beginning of my, I still believe that theater for 5 years doing theater is given me so much inside me. So even today I make any piece of artwork, that quality come to my art. And that's how I do the installation, and that's how the performatic and quite large form of the stage kind of things come to my work. But that's very natural to me.
I was going to suggest that there is certainly a dramatic presence to many of your installations. There's an immersive quality, and there is a careful attention to the way the body relates to your work. But you also are very careful in the way that you choose your materials. For instance, this work, My Mother and Me, which is made of cow dung, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And just moving forward, earthenware vessels, for example. So while many know your work, especially in aluminum and in brass, or at the installation in Terminal that's made in brass, you are very careful in the associations with each material that you use, that you choose to incorporate. And could you speak to a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Like utensils I was talking about, when I started it 20 years ago, 90% of population in country in India, everybody used stainless steel utensil almost. It's a new medium, new things. Now we're changing to the plastic and ceramic and many other things. But stainless steel utensil 15, 20 years ago, I think every single household in India, they had it. So such a common material, but same time, it's like emptiness of the food and shining of the stainless steel. So contrasted between. So it says everything within that about my country. And that's the reason I choose those material. I also work with many vessels like terracotta, aluminiums, and I will come to the terminal later, but I wanted to, every time you make art and keep making it, your practice when you're doing it, your mind change, your experience of making art changes, so do I change my work too, in that terms, when I get somewhere near. So recently, like I'm just, can you go to the next image, please? So like this work is called There Is a No Fountain. This is not a fountain. So when you see these aluminum pots, and when you will take the image very close image, it will surprise you. It will look like a cosmos. So it's just like, and I can go back the same image, please? Yes. So when I'm making with this vessel and putting plaster of Paris and creating the form, and very different form I'm creating here. So form, what you can recognize and you can't recognize. The vessel you're able to recognize very easily, but the form, what I created it, is maybe not so recognizable. What is it? And that's I wanted to say it. Because today, when I take the image of the vessel and when I realize it's the cosmos, and the way uh, everybody asks me how much I influence from India, and of course, every single artist is influenced from India. Where they live and they work, they influence from their own country. So I live and work in India, so I'm influenced from there. But same time, when you see the star, it's almost the same star you see anywhere in a planet you are, and able to recognize the same star. So for me, even Stephen Hawking said, if you're looking for another planet or something else alien, the answer is not you go there up and you can find it. Answer is in our planet Earth. And the same way, I look at it, my answer and my cosmos in my vessels, in my utensils, and I'm able to keep finding things. I'm finding my own cosmos in that way. So I do try to create the abstract form where even I can't recognize it, what is it, but same time, I do feel something exists like that, and many form it like that.
Thank you. Now, going forward, oops, wrong direction, sorry. Going back to this work, now I remember that there was at one point a discussion you were in where your interlocutor wanted to point out or search for some sort of ritual rooted in tradition basis for this, but rather your response was that actually it's about a very contemporary issue of water, of conservation, of environment. Can you speak to that contrast? I know you just mentioned that every artist is rooted in tradition, but there are concerns, real concerns surrounding you now that inflect your work as well.
Absolutely. Like you are, the water is the most essential for the human being. And the way the crisis of water is happening, and we are so busy to doing our own things and excitement about the new technology, but at the same time, the tense and the atmosphere in the world today, we all recognize it and everyone understand it. We are escaping sometime from the real issue. Is a simple issue, is the water and food and all those things. So in that way, this work, this is not a fountain, is a depict of that about the human population and water and many other things. Yeah. So
Now, going to the title of this work, This Is Not a Fountain, people, of course, have given your use of the ready-made, the functional object, and recontextualizing them, finding new meanings. People have, of course, referenced Duchamp, Vincent Duchamp in your work. So is the title, since I know you choose your titles very carefully, is there a reference to that in saying this is not a fountain, or is that totally incorrect?
honestly, I never thought about it. But same time, we do art world, we look at the same thing again and again. And somehow, if subconsciously, maybe it was in my tummy, did not come to my mouth. So when people pointed me out most of the time, I honestly did not think about it, I taken the title or something, I was very influenced with it. But maybe, and I have no problem with that either.
Just like to go through a couple of images here. Known Stranger, in this installation, as examples of those works in which you do use found objects. Now, there's another part of your practice where you make objects specifically for the idea or the installation. But for these found objects, do you collect them over time? Do you, how, how does it come together? Is your studio just full of objects that you collect over time and then they gestate until you come with an idea?
Yes, no doubt. I collect lots of object, and my studio is full of object. No doubt about it. But collecting that much object, I have to source it. So, so don't think when you see these utensils. That's what I'm saying. These utensils already had a meaning. Somebody used it over the time to eating food in it. The family, friends, the many history behind it. You eat food, sometimes you're very angry. You eat food when you're very happy. Eat food when you're very sexy. Whatever the mood you carrying it. But these utensils only evidence, silent evidence of your day-to-day life. And but I don't want to go so deeply in that context, so I lose the context of utensil itself. So I collected those utensils, and like I'm saying, I talked about the cosmos. So these utensils, the shopkeeper, the vendor, they collect them, and after collecting them, these utensils going to rebirth anyway, because they're going to melt them and going to make the aluminum bricks out of it. And just before they make the aluminum bricks out of it, I go to that vendor and buy from the in the lot and collect them, and I give them rebirth in my own way. So,
So you're gathering all of that sort of patina of wear
yeah,
and,
yeah. So
and past lives.
yeah, just before they yeah, going to turn something else, I collect them. Yes.
I'll just go through a couple more images. Now, this, for example, is
Yeah.
a rather extraordinary working with architecture, and you've done that in a few cases.
Like we talked about the theater and the beginning of my practice, you can see very visible in this particular work as well. Uh, when the Lille happened in France, 2004, and they invited me and they given me this church, and they asked me to do this installation in this church. And I did ask them, did any artist work before in this place? They said yes. I'm like, who? It was no one else. It's Peter Greenway. Peter Greenway exhibited the piece here, and when I see it, I just shock, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to do this place to make artwork. I was so inspired, and basically I was little second, and I don't know how I'm going to make piece of artwork in this particular space. But I did not try to express myself, but taken that challenge and come up with this particular work. It's called Hungry God, and I made an interesting thing. The Lille government or mayor from the Lille, they kept this piece permanently. It still is there.
It is.
It's still there. Yeah, they kept it permanently, this piece. So
So,
whenever any chance to go France and Lille, please go and have a see this work.
so this is an interesting particular example, but certainly artists that come from one cultural context and is speaking in another, there can be issues of reception. So I'm curious, since you were in a church in Lille, in France, and your work was titled Hungry God, were there any misreadings or any, did you feel in any case compelled to explain the work more, or it was fine?
It was absolutely fine. That's what I'm trying to say. Any any artist come from the different part of the world, they, of course, they able to influence from their own culture, and but the art language is the same. I believe the contemporary art language is the same all over the world, and people who understand art and see it they do understand it. And it's a great example, this museum itself. You will see art from around the world, ancient art to some contemporary art too. And people acknowledge it. People who love art, they see it any form. They're able to look at it any time, any space of the mind. And the beauty of art is like when a 10 years old kid looking at it, 50 years old person looking at it, or 80 years old person looking at it, they all looking the same object and thinking very differently. So that's the power of art, and that's how I believe in it.
All right, I'm just going through some other kinds of images of your work, installations for which you have gained a great deal of attention. And what we were speaking to before, it's a very different feeling and a different approach by using this, by massing these very sort of mass-manufactured objects, the aluminum, the use of aluminum in abundance, contrasted with the use of copper. This is really just another way to illustrate the way you choose your materials according to what it is that you wish to say, if it's, or a different feeling, a different spirit to the work, perhaps.
Like all of us, we always see it, what is our next to it. So I always influence with what is next to me and what I see it every day. And that inspired me. That's I collect it. This is the piece you looking the orange thing is a tong. Tong when you basically every Indian hold have a tong, but it's not in this color, in a stainless steel or steel, to the to flip the bread on tawa on the
On the,
flat, yeah,
the hot stone.
hot stone.
or-
So flip the bread so it's not burned. Instead of doing with your finger, you do with this tong. And here I used it almost 3,500 tongs to make this piece, and turn something else around altogether. Yeah.
It
So
glows. It's a very impressive piece. You've also increased in scale. Sorry. Uh, you've also been steadily or more consistently increasing the scale or monumentality of your work. Are,
I always try to do it whenever I have a chance, but I do make very small work too.
and this, this is banyan tree. No, yes. It's a
Yes.
banyan tree with vessels attached to it in your very particular sort of pictorial language. Can you tell us a bit more about?
So, banyan tree is the most famous tree in our country, and this is the only tree over the several years give you the another root, and other root become itself root, and then give the another root. So it's like ongoing process, and you will see slowly, like hundreds of roots sometime. Most old banyan tree you will able to see, and utensils, again, like I said, I'm so fascinated with utensils. And okay, I tell you a story again. So 30 years ago, when I was my home, most of the Indian family, they use the brass and copper utensils. That were the household utensils. And even the middle class family, even the lower middle class family, they had a copper and brass utensils. But suddenly, this stainless steel utensil came, and it's become a more expensive, little bit luxury material that time. And after 10, 15 years, of course, it's become every household things. So, it's like when you dream, something is growing in your tree. So I grow the tree in utensils. That's how I dream.
Very briefly, uh, this work from 2015, you speak of the cosmos. I think that's something that is quite inherent in the reaction to looking into this unfathomable depth. But in fact, it's a vessel turned over. This was created especially as a work, not a found object. just
No,
as the Banyan,
yeah, yeah,
just as Specimen 108
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Can you speak to us a bit about your process? Do you create models or molds and have them fabricated by specialists in vessel making, or what is your process for producing a work like this?
Yeah, sometime you will see a big vessel in the shop too, and that it will shock you when you go to some of them temple or mosque where they use the really big vessel to cook food for the priest or the thousands of peoples when they doing the langar and mass production of the food. It's really like a shocking performance going on, and it will really you inside kitchen is like crazy things happening, and some of those things really strike to me, and I get oh wow, I must something, and so I get inspired from there, and then I create my own. I need my own sculpture in the sense what I wanted to make it and how is I wanted to express myself, and yeah, so that's how I get inspired by, and same time I like also the how the vessel. If you see the backside of this vessel, it's like what you call the bang
Oh,
in
like
uh,
a gong, sorry.
gongs. So when you will
Yeah.
see the backside of this works, it will look like that. So not one thing sometime, many imagery passes you and how you combine together and take the essence of it and able to put things together.
I see. So there is, certainly there are shapes that inspire you. Um, how was something like Specimen 108 made? Do you start with drawings? Are they all fabricated in India?
No, the I of course I taken the image of the tree, and then basically manufactured this work in Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because first of all, uh, we don't have a good craftsmen in my country. They are very good craftsmen. Do something else, but there is a many foundry who can in Korea and China. They're able to create and they have a 316 stainless steel because they also can sustain outdoor. So the material wise and making something to sustain outside and able to create that kind of form computerize first they make a drawing in computer in 3D and then they make cut every single stainless steel and then weld them then polish them, so there is a lots of work what I can't do in my studio but they're able to do it. Of course we produce stainless steel in India because we're familiar with the SO object, so able to create in the same 316L as well, so they can sustain outdoor. So these are the not normal utensils because what you buy in the market, it will rust within 6 months or a year, but this is especially made for me to I can use it for
I
my
see.
sculpture. Yeah.
Okay. Now just now we end up with terminal itself, and I know perhaps several of you have already heard me speak plenty of times about terminal, so I'd like to hear you speak about terminal. But maybe if I could ask you to start with the title of the work.
Yes. Terminals. I came from the country where two things most important things. First is a politics, second is religion. And that's we all facing it most of the places now. Terminal is a came from that thinking aspects of making this work. I given the title because terminal is a place where your journey either start or where the journey ends. And same time, like when you see these pinnacles, every we if you see the Hindu temples, you will see the pinnacles, and there is a symbol will be attached with the god of Shiva, Tirsul. If you see the mosque, the same pinnacles, but the symbol of will be in the moon, half moon. You will see the Gurdwara, they will have a same base of pinnacles, but they will make the moon and the star, and they will make. So how the religion, they changes through the symbol, but the base of the symbol is of the all religion is the same. And it's quite striking, isn't it? And you go in the same Hindu people going in the same shop to buy that, same Muslim people going to the same shop to buy that for their mosque, and same Sikh people is going to the same shop buy their for their own gurdwara. So how the religion, so that's just really strike me, and that's how I try to put the threads with all the uh, mm, base of the pinnacles and try to put one religion, and this is human, maybe.
But it's actually bears quite a relationship to the spirit eaters in the sense that you are looking at the way religion is manifested in the everyday, a very sort of pragmatic look at how perhaps ideas that we would, to really remind us how localized different traditions are and different beliefs are or practices are in specific places, and how they are really lived in the everyday, which is sort of something that really, an aspect that stands out very much with Terminal, I think. The cotton thread that's very natural, untreated, the towers with no symbols that are very generic.
The cotton thread, we choose it purposely, the white threads, because that don't, mostly Hindu, they wear the thread, the red here like I'm wearing in my hand. And, but most of the time, that's why I don't want it to put particular religion and like Hindu or Muslim or any other religion. So I choose the white thread because it belongs to everyone, and natural thread at the same time is not even colored.
Could you tell us a bit about how you produce the work?
Yeah, so first I thought, oh wow, I got the idea, I must make it now. So I went to the shop to buy it, and but I could not able to find it in that tall, how much big I wanted it. So again, I went to the manufacturer who able to, especially this is whenever you buy from the market, they have a very thin sheet of metal. This is a casted. Is a brass casting, so it's solid, half-inch thick. So they're stable, and they can. It's very lots of because even you can little bit it will not fall, and it's a really heavy metal done by. So whenever I think about the making piece of artwork, I also think about the sustaining the material and how I able to create it what is not available in the market, or able to make that big and same shape and many other shape. So that's how I went to manufacturer and asked them to do it for me, and that's how I made it.
There's a special quality, I think, to Terminal that I appreciate very much in looking at all of, as our conservator looks at every inch and every centimeter of each tower, the hammer marks, the perhaps little accidents in casting, and the sort of warmth of brass, which has a very different feeling from perhaps the aluminum works or the other kinds of
The
installation.
brass, when you casting it, and sometime the can be fragile too, because it can be some crack can comes, some and when because it's all foldable, so you can they're not attached all together. It's a one piece. It's a all different piece attached together. So it's like otherwise it's not very difficult to carry them or handling them. So when we casted it, we made it make sure they can fit to each other and easily done. So we think about all while you're making any piece of artwork. Yeah.
So my last question, and then we'll open up perhaps in the last 10 minutes to questions from the audience. You started out very early in your career, really exhibiting overseas, London, New York, outside of India. And then there came a moment just a few years ago when you had a fairly extensive exhibition in India. How meaningful was that to you? What did it mean to be able to then, even though you've been living and working in India, to be able to have that extensive exhibition looking at your work?
First of all, when I passed out from the school, College of Art in Patna, I came to Delhi, and it was not for like any young artist anywhere in the world, a struggle. You don't find anything, you go to the gallery, they don't even look at your work, nobody thinking what kind of work, and especially making the work with the cow dung cake, they say, oh, what is it? And so nobody bother you to look at your piece of artwork. But I do give appreciation. 1999, 97, first my residency was in Gasworks, when the Robert Loader offered me to come and work in the Gasworks in London for 3 months. And after the making My Mother and Me with the cow dung, the Fukuoka Trinale happened in Japan, and they asked me to come and do the residency. They wanted specifically that Mother and Me, the cow dung piece. But after several correspondence for 2 months, the Japanese government was so strict that there is no way to bring the cow dung from India. So we're not able to do that work. So they asked me to come and make some piece of artwork. So I did make work, and they collected it in the museum. So several residency and several offer scholarship from outside of India I got. And that's given me energy, that's given me belief what I was doing, I'm doing right. And doing that, of course, in that process, you meet curator, you meet gallery, and that's how your career span. And then, yes, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. And so people not even, your home, when you get success, the people start looking at you too. So that's happened to me too. And I'm very happy to be part of home too, and exhibiting, no doubt. So people is all over the same. People look at, in India also, people, normal people, common people, very enthusiastic about the work. And they like it, and they comment it, and they also ask many questions too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the audience? Anyone like?
Is your this sculpture work using stainless steel utensils, is it more in the hands of Western collectors or Indian collectors, private collections, not the monumental sculptures?
Both.
But I'm sure when like you said, when you first came out with these utensils, so many people told you, I can make it too. There's a lot of stainless steel utensils in my house. But then later, when it became a piece of art, then they started appreciating it also.
Yeah, that's very normal. This happen, but there is many artwork made for hundreds of years, who's very common. And biggest example, Marcel Duchamp, who used the ready-made object, and anybody could have in toilet, anybody could have in bicycle ring, anybody could have it, those objects very easily. But no. Only reason, what is the difference between the, sometime, it's not about you find something, you make every day something, or you believe in it. And that's the practice make you, and that object, you start looking at it very differently. The same computer, everybody use, but when artists use the same computer and put it a piece of artwork, it become a piece of artwork. That's the only difference.
Has any stainless steel utensils manufacturer approached you and said, use my utensils and put my name on it?
No, sir. They are so busy to supplying the common people, and when I ask them, give me 100 utensils, they say, I have no time for you. By the way, they're so busy. and especially in Diwali time.
Yeah. Another question? Yes.
So I have seen your paintings of stainless steel vessels. So were they done during your training period? And do these inspirations come from your paintings, or do you paint still as a daily ritual?
No, so I wish I could have shown you some painting too. But you were the lady who were making Alpana? My God. First of all, thank you very much. And I was so inspired. I was looking at your finger and how you make finger as a brush. So it was really the way you was handling it. It was really remarkable, and I was very inspired. Thank you very much. And yes, like I said, I taken the image of the utensils, the vessel. These days I'm painting what I'm making it. So I use utensils like pan fry. Suppose pan fry, and pan fry using after 3 years and 4 years, those scratches come with your spoon or something else. And when those scratches come, and eventually you throw it. And when you throw it, I pick them then. And when you take image of those scratches, there is no difference. If you look at the detail properly, there is no difference between cosmos and galaxy and then those scratch on the pan. And that's where I connect myself. And that's how I'm making painting of those these days. And I call it cosmos.
Do you?
I do that. I take pictures of the scratches.
Actually, that was a follow-up. Do you use photography at all, or in your painting process?
I use most of the medium. Whenever, so yes, I done photography. So I use video, photography. Yeah, I use and performance too. Sometime, physical performance. I did it many years ago. So
To create the painting, though. Do you, on canvas, is there a link between, does performance somehow
Yeah,
get
you're talking about the
recorded on
photography.
canvas or
So yes,
photography
I
on
do.
that, yeah.
I do take photograph of the utensils, and I project on my canvas sometime, and try to copy it the same form, and then after that I paint. So I make sure that I'm not making mistake. Yes, I do it. I take help of any technology. It's not about the how you painting it. You printing on the canvas, painting on canvas, or dancing on canvas. Is you painting from upside down or standing or sleeping. Honestly, end of the day, it's only matter what you're making and why you're making. And that's.
Yes.
What is the meaning of the thread?
Thread.
Yeah, when I see it, it's like trapped in a religion. So there are 3 religions you talk about, and therefore are these people trapped, and when people go through it, they're also in a way going into that same process.
Yeah, a good question. But honestly, because like I said, there is many other religion and base is this. I only try to, with the thread, try to bring together all the religion and make it one religion or maybe no religion. So when you feel trapped, could be. I don't know. Yeah, this insulation, when you go inside and you feel with the thread kind of form. So don't you feel, I don't know. But honestly, I did not make it in that aspect. But it's a good question. I will think about it.
When if I go to church,
Yeah.
there are no threads stopping me from.
Well, I didn't make the temple. I did not make the church. And I did not make the mosque. I made the piece of artwork. Yes, I try to, it could be in the paper, drawing, it could be in oil, and it could be in the form of the sculpture. So look at my work as a sculpture.
I think something that you've said in the past, especially about this work, is that it's also, you want it to be open to interpretation. So I personally kind of take a middle path between that. And I appreciate very much the contrast between the thread and the solidity of the brass. there's a practical reason for the threading, but also that that contrast reminds you of a certain quality of precariousness, right? They're interdependent. It makes each tower very much interdependent, and the thread perhaps suggests that it's also a delicate relationship, because perhaps, as you've also said in a statement about the work, this kind of coexistence is not without its challenges today, especially throughout the world, not just in India. So I think there is that dynamic contrast between those materials that perhaps for me suggests the challenge part of this kind of diversity or heterogeneity.
I agree with you, because the hardness of the metal and softness of the threads somehow is really contrast, and sometimes you that's why, sir, I said it before, कि every individual look at same piece of artwork very different way, and the way you looked at it, maybe I haven't seen in that way, and I'm going to look at it, your perspective now and think about it.
We have time for one more question. Yep, in the center, I think.
Yeah, so I'm very curious about in your work trying to connect with the cosmos. It wouldn't be something I had thought, but it's fascinating. So are you trying to make your own particular experience of the cosmos, a sense of it, more known to us, or are you seeking to maintain the fact that it is unknown?
I'm kind of I don't believe in this spiritualism, but I do believe in our existence. And I never thought that there will be alien or the other things, what will be. And but I'm very fascinated with our planet and the other planet. And my search, through my process, or like very simple things, those gentlemen eating food, what they spit, and they talk about it. If you not feed me, the person who dead, he will be not happy. So though they feed them, okay, the spirit should be happy. So that kind of connection, and last night I was watching the documentary about how in the orbits this last 13 years NASA sent this and they found the new moons. And every day we find the new moon, every day we find a new planet. We looked for the Mars to make it, okay, there is going to be human or any kind of alien, whatever. They could not find it there. We arrived today where we could not even thought of billions of miles away and able to see that moon and crack and some kind of snow is coming. It's so fascinating. And I look at my utensil in the same way, and just is a fraction of second or maybe dust of the art, I try to throw it there. I don't know, I answer you or not.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for attending and listening. Thank you very much, Subodh, for sharing your work with us. And there we go.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you.